The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.
Welcome. I'm Riley Karsh.
I'm Tova Kopan.
We are thrilled to bring you the We Go Boldly podcast.
Let's talk big burning questions, life changes, and maybe a bit of personal business.
Let's be bold and brave together. Are you ready?
I am. Here comes the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Go Boldly, the podcast where we celebrate women stepping into their power and living their most authentic lives. We are also thrilled to be a part of the Power Moms Network. At Power Moms Network, we are empowering a community of mothers, mentoring other moms to greatness. It's super fun, very positive, uplifting place. We hope you check it out. You can find us online at all the relevant places. I always like to remind you guys, we have our We Go Boldly weekly circle. We meet once a week. We chat. It is fantastic. It is good for your soul, good for your heart, good for your mental health, all of those things. And we would love to have you join us there. If you want to find out more information, you can go to our website at goboldlyinitiative.com/weekly circle to get all the information, and you can sign up right there. We would love to have you join us. Really, it's one of my favorite parts of the week. So I got all the information out quickly today. I'm very impressed with myself, to be honest. As you all know, we're in season 12. We're talking about being the author of your own story, the captain of your ship, all of those mixed metaphors that I love to throw in there this season. And we have an amazing guest for you today. Very excited. Before we get to her, I'm going to say hello to Tova, get her on the show, and see how she's doing this lovely, what day is it? I don't even know. It's Tuesday. It's May. So who knows? It could be any day. How are you, Tova?
Well, that's basically what I was going to say. I was going to say today is Tuesday. That's it. It feels like Monday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that's basically how I'm doing.
It is confusing. Like May, first of all, there's holidays, and then there's like 12 billion kid things going on. And it's my anniversary. And like, I don't know. I just lose track.
Yeah.
I did realize it is my 15th wedding anniversary this year, and I am unprepared to do anything to celebrate that other than, being grateful that, we're at 15 years and it's gone mostly well. But I did want to put that out there to the universe, like, hey, thanks. 15 years is pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that.
So I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
That's exciting.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
is that
I told you earlier, I jogged today, first time in over a year that my leg was allowing me to do that. It was very exciting. All good things today.
all good things? Do you know what the anniversary gift is for?
No, I've
Okay.
never known for any of them. I just that's not information that stays in my brain.
I think some of them are really weird. And so
Yeah, like paper. I don't what, just give each other money. I mean, weird.
I always think of stationery, right?
I guess. I don't know.
By the way, that just says a lot about our personalities. Is that I'm like, it's stationery. I want pretty cards.
And I'm like, it's money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I should probably think about that. I could use some.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what day of the week it is. I think we have 17 baseball games tonight. And I'm just always thankful that you're thankful you jogged, and I'm thankful I like baseball. So, and I am excited to I had a good weekend. It was a long weekend, and I was happy for it. And I was like sad that it was over, and also ready that it was over.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that I was sad that it was over. Like I wasn't rushing for it to be over, but I also wasn't like looking for another day.
I like to miss things.
Yes. Yes.
Like
So
my kids.
yes. Anyway, with that, today we are talking to Laura Hoorweg. Laura is an esteemed international spiritual counselor, intuitive coach, and psychic medium with an uncanny ability to pinpoint crucial details across all areas of your life. She brings a unique blend of insight and clarity that resonates with your deepest intuitions. Her perceptiveness often feels like an extension of your own inner knowing, offering a compassionate yet no-nonsense presence that guides her work. Laura's exceptional capacity to illuminate and outline the most positive, life-affirming paths forward sets her apart as both a seer and counselor, a refreshing and powerful combination. Laura's true passion lies in empowering individuals to live their lives with authenticity and passion. She helps align their journeys with their divine missions and assists them in discovering and nurturing their spiritual gifts. With her guidance, you can unlock your fullest potential and embrace a life filled with purpose and joy. And we're just going to ignore what we normally do on the podcast and just have her give advice to Riley and I for the rest of the time, I think. No.
So selfishly.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no. Yeah. No, Laura, we are so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Really good, ladies, except now you've got me all confused on what day it is. Like I was having problems with that from the beginning. And then I heard Riley say the first time you spoke of your anniversary, I thought you said 50th. And I'm looking at
no.
it and I'm going, no.
I have a really good skincare routine.
And then you said it again. I went, okay, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, no. 15, 15. I can't, my parents, I think, are almost at their 50th, which I can't even imagine, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time with somebody.
A lot of time with the same person.
Yeah,
so it
for
better
sure.
be good time.
Well, as you have heard and know, our whole season is about helping people understand, how they can be the person in charge of their lives, how they're, don't get stuck in the patterns of the past, how they can release things that are holding them back. All of those things. There's so many different ways to say it, and sometimes I get stuck repeating myself. But we are excited to talk to you and get sort of some like a sense of your journey of how you've gotten to where you are today and how you started to embrace your path and things like that. So to that end, we would love it if you could talk to our listeners about, sort of how about your journey. How did you start in the occupation you're in the place you're in life? How did you, what was the A to Z of it so far?
Oh, wow.
I know it's a big open-ended question.
It's a huge question because I've been around for a while, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Okay. I've always been extremely spiritual, and I've always had even as a child, I had a very close connection, and I picked up on things and I saw things and I heard things that I just assumed everybody did. But as I got older, I realized that, not everybody has these things, so I should just keep my mouth shut. So that's what I ended up doing. And that's usually what happens with children when they realize that everybody isn't getting the same information. They just kind of be more quiet about it. So, a spiritual journey goes like this. A spiritual journey is not a straight line. So throughout my life, I had different periods. I had around when I was 15, I had an incredible out-of-body experience. And that experience changed the way that I viewed myself, life, death, the world, how the world worked. And then I went through my 20s and early 30s and not so spiritual. And then I sort of came back into my spirituality in my mid 30s and 40s. But I was living a double life basically because I was in a very corporate job. I was in advertising and marketing, which had nothing to do with my spiritual side. So I was one way at work and another way in my personal time. And during those years, I also, I wasn't doing anything full time, but I did things kind of on the side. I did some readings and helped people and things like that on the side. But it really took I call it the implosion and explosion of my life when I was around 52. My partner suddenly died. I got the advertising, the newspaper business went from hell into a handbag because of all the reasons we don't have to go into. But so I decided to make an exit without a plan. I just said, give me my check and I'm out of here. And then shortly after that, my partner suddenly passed away. So it was like bang, 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 bang. And all these things happened one after the other. And that catapulted me onto my own healing journey. And through that healing journey, I became even more connected with my guides and my spirituality. And this is when I discovered I was truly a medium as well as a psychic. Those things are different. I always like to kind of establish that for people, because everybody is psychic to some degree. I always say it's like basketball. Everybody can play basketball. Some people are just better at it than others. Okay. But when it comes to mediumship, mediumship is a very special gift. And not everybody has that. So all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums, is the easiest way to put it. So I discovered all that stuff. And in about, when was it? 2015. I was going to try to find another job in advertising and marketing, and then I decided that just not, those doors kept closing for me. So whenever I see things closing, I know that I'm not headed in the right direction. So I started my own practice in 2015, and that's when I started doing the counseling and intuitive coaching full time, and also working with my mediumship. So because there's three separate things that I do. They're all connected, but they're quite separate. So that is the Reader's Digest version.
That was pretty succinct. I'm very impressed. You
Yeah.
got that, and it was all organized. I like that. That's great.
You said something big happened when you were 15, and
Yes.
then sort of through your 20s and the beginning part of your 30s, the spiritual side went maybe dormant is the best word. So how did you, I don't know if you want to share what happened when you were 15, and you certainly don't have to, but
Oh, sure.
how,
Yeah.
I mean, you can, I'm sure we'd be interested, but like, how did you um sort of I find sometimes we have to do kind of mental gymnastics if there's stuff that we kind of want to ignore. Like if we're like, oh, that happened, but I'm just gonna like put it off to the side. So
Or drink heavily.
well, that helps. Yeah.
That's
Um,
kind of the short story of my 20s and early 30s,
okay.
as for most people.
Yeah, that'll do it. So what was your experience when you were 15 that opened this world of spirituality for you?
Okay, well, okay, I'm going to have to kind of prequel this with the fact that I wasn't brought up in a religious family. I was never religious in any way, shape, or form, really. But when I was 10 or 11, I wanted to know where God and the angels were. So thankfully, or advantageously, or synchronistically is a better word, synchronistically in my neighborhood, there was like at least half a dozen churches. So every Sunday for about 6 to 8 Sundays, I got dressed in my Sunday best, because that's what you did in those days. And I trucked on my little patent leather shoes and the little skirt and fishnet stockings and all those things. And I trucked off to all these different churches. And in short order, I discovered that, at least for me, angels and God were not in church. Met some nice people and heard some nice music and all that good stuff, but that's not where they were. So as I got older, and in my early teens, I started doing a lot of backpacking and canoeing and camping and being out in the wilderness. And this is where I made my connection, which a lot of people do, to spirituality and God. That I always say that the wilderness is my cathedral. So this is the prelim to the story, because otherwise you wouldn't understand the story. So at 15, I'm out working for a Y camp, and we're out rock climbing, and I'm standing at the top of a cliff, like a 200-foot, 300-foot cliff that we were rappelling down. And all of a sudden, I was standing just looking out at the awe and the beauty, because this is up in northern Ontario, and it's all lakes and woods, and it's wilderness for as far as you can see, and it's just absolutely beautiful. All of a sudden, I just popped right out of my body. I found myself up in the air, up in the sky, looking down at my compatriots who are all sitting and standing on this ledge. And I went, wow, what is this? And it was an incredible experience. There was no fear whatsoever. I felt totally protected, totally safe, and just expanded in an amazing way. And then all of a sudden, I felt this whoosh again, and all of a sudden, I was outside of the earth and looking down on the earth. And I was like, wow, because I was brought up, I'm going to give away my age here, I was little when the first moon landings and stuff when the astronauts were first doing all the good stuff. And that was the first time we saw the earth from outside of the earth, okay? And a lot of the astronauts talked about how moving and how life-changing that was. And I could tell you, it is. when you actually see it from outer space. And I'm feeling more expanded, and I'm feeling safe, and I'm feeling so loved, and I can't even explain it, part of everything, but yet still separate. And then again it happens, poof. And then again now I'm out in the universe, and I can see all the galaxies and the Milky Way and all the spiral galaxies. And then all of a sudden, I'm just getting into this, and I'm like going, oh, what's next? And all of a sudden I feel this rush, and it was like somebody just grabbed me and took me, and I rushed back, and it was like getting stuffed back in my body. I always describe it as trying to take, I love my basketball metaphors. Trying to take a basketball and shove it in a Coke bottle. That's what it felt like. And it took me several days afterwards to actually feel comfortable in my body again, because I was so expanded. And so that totally changed how I looked at everything, because it changed the way, because obviously we don't really die, okay, because there's something of us that goes on. I was out of my body. I was like a dead person. So there's way more to this. So it went on from there. And I just realized that this is when that expression really hit home, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not physical beings having a spiritual experience. So so that changed and colored everything. And just because you don't necessarily keep walking down the same trail, those things they don't disappear. When you have these things, they're always kind of in your library, even if you're kind of ignoring them. So you can take them out when you're ready. If that makes sense.
For sure. When this happened, did you share your experience with anyone, or did you keep it inside? And if you didn't share it, like, when did you feel comfortable, and why? How did you get to the point where you're comfortable talking about sort of your authentic experience?
I've probably talked about it more in the last few years, because a lot of people pick up on this experience and they want to hear more about it. But it was years, like literally, and maybe even decades before I actually shared it with anyone. Because again, I had been so conditioned when I was a young child to not speak about these things, because people just looked at you and thought you were really weird. But when I started getting more, I would probably say it was probably in my latter 30s, when I probably first actually had a discussion about it with somebody, kind of one-on-one thing. But like I said, I talked about that whole experience more in the last couple of years than ever. But yeah, it's something, and it's very hard to explain. Oh, and I forgot the best part. What actually caused me to go back into my body was that one of the instructors that was with us, he got a little nervous because he thought I was a little too close to the edge of the cliff, and he grabbed the back of my pants and yanked me back. So when he physically yanked me back, that's when I rushed and was crammed back into my body. So that's what actually ended the experience. I have tried to replicate that experience many, many times through a number of different modalities, shall we say. And I've never been able to exactly to that same extent. And I think it was because it was totally spontaneous.
I find it fascinating for a variety of reasons, but when I think about talking to our listeners and talking to, I'm sure, with your clients about how do I be my whole self? How do I publicly be my whole self, right? Without shame, without worry, without fear, all of those things, or maybe in spite of the fear. I find it fascinating to try and understand, like, what gets us over the hump. And sometimes I think it's just aging, right? Like, I hit my 40s and I was like, whatever, don't like me.
Who
I don't
cares?
care.
Yeah.
It's like not my problem. But I would love to try to unlock that as much as possible for people so that, they're not suffering. Because I think it is a form of suffering to not be your honest self, to not be able to bring your whole person to a relationship, like a friendship, a partnership, whatever. Your work, as you were discussing earlier, being in advertising marketing and having it not feed that spiritual side of you. You know, not that everything's going to feed every part of us at all times. That's ridiculous. But like, it feels very compartmentalized, which I think becomes super unhealthy for us. So that's why I'm curious I'm curious about the whole thing for a variety of reasons. I'm super into all of this conversation, but like, I want people to listen to us and hear, like, you know, you don't have to be afraid of being honest, even if it's something that people say is, you know, quote, weird or out there or whatever things people will say, you know, because
Well, yeah.
there's always
Sorry.
somebody that's going to listen to you, and you know, take your word for it, or be on your side, or I don't know what the right words are right now, but
Well, that's why I really advise people just to be yourself, because like you said, I don't care what you're talking about. There's always going to be people that judge you, and they're going to think you're weird, and it doesn't even have to be something like the way out spiritual stuff that I'm talking about. Could be anything. Could be the way you dress. It could be the way you wear your hair, what kind of makeup, or you don't, or whatever. You know, people are always judging each other. So you just have to get to the point, like you said, and part of this is maturity to some degree, but it's also just like, I don't care, you know? And when I look back on it, like even when I was young, I didn't realize it, but I had more of that kind of attitude, because even when I was a teenager, and you know how teenagers are, they have to do the same thing. I didn't care. Like, if you guys want to do that, you know, if you want to go be a punker or whatever, good, go do that. But don't expect me to I'm not interested in that. And, you know, I was very athletic when I was a teenager, but I wasn't a jock. Like, you know what I mean? And I also did very well in school, but I wasn't a nerdy either. I was me. I just did my own thing, and I wasn't willing to slot myself into any particular box. Actually, I haven't thought about this for a long time, but this is true. So I was actually like that when I was pretty young. But as we get older, I think we just feel more empowered. We have more life experience. We just get to the point where I don't care, you know. I've had people, you know, tell me I'm going to hell and start reading me, you know, I had all kinds of experiences. Or some people just say, you know, you're nuts, like that stuff. You know, people who don't believe in it at all. Now, cynics is one thing. I don't like dealing with cynics because they don't believe in anything, basically. Skeptics are another story altogether. Some of my best clients have been highly skeptical people, and come in to working with me going, I'm not even sure that I really believe in this. And I said, I don't care. You know, you judge when you have the experience. You judge what, is this for you, or isn't it for you? And 99.99 times out of 100, they are the ones that often take a deep dive, because they go, wow, this is real. You're the real thing. And, you know, this is why I have a lot of testimonials on my website, because I have them there, because I go, people always ask me, like, what is it to work with you? What is it like to work with you? And I can describe it to a certain degree, but I usually just say, hey, I got, you know, hundreds of testimonials on my website. Go and look at them, and judge from what other people are saying that their experience is. I think that'll give you a better idea of what the experience of working with me is, than me trying to tell you what it is. So that's what I've always done.
We need to take a quick break, but when we get back, I'd love to know, I'll give you a sneak peek, but I'd love to know, in your 30s, was it just kind of getting older, gaining perspective that brought you back around to your spirituality, that started to kind of awaken it again? Or did something happen specifically? Like what took place? So we're going to take a quick break, but then we
Okay, I'll
will
have to
come
think
right
about
back.
that.
All right, so we'll be right back.
well, hey there, dream chaser. Are you ready to make the next 12 months of your life unforgettable? Introducing the Year of You, a groundbreaking new goal system group that's about to redefine the way we approach personal growth. Join us with a community of like-minded individuals committed to unlocking their full potential with expert guidance, personalized strategies, kind-hearted accountability, and a supportive network. The Year of You is more than just a goal-setting group. It's a whole movement. Don't just dream about it, achieve it. Click in the link in our show notes or go ahead and visit us at goboldlyinitiative.com/year of you to learn more today. Let's embark on a transformative journey together towards becoming the best versions we can be. The Year of You, where your goals become reality.
Okay, welcome back. So before we left, I had said, you had indicated that, your 20s and 30s, you sort of focused on other things and your spirituality was a bit dormant. But that's when you started coming back to it or it awakened. And I was wondering if it was just sort of that natural process of maybe getting older and being more comfortable with different parts of yourself, or if there was something that happened that.
Actually, I think it's probably a little bit of both, since I had my little time to think about it there. Um, because my 20s was pretty, wow. It was pretty challenging. I had a very, very challenging childhood and upbringing. So, which is why I had kind of a wild 20s, and that just kind of compounded things. And then by the time I started getting into my 30s, I'm just like, oh my God, like I've been traumatized by so many things. This is what started me on my healing journey and my personal development journey. And through that journey, I started reading a lot. And a big part of that, kind of re-education of myself was not a lot of the classic self-help books. They were all books that had a spiritual bent to them. And this is when I got into energy healing and Reiki and all kinds of things just kind of found their way to me. I think when you have an intention, this is why I talk about intentions as opposed to goals. When you have an intention to move in a certain direction, all of a sudden, all this stuff starts showing up synchronistically. And so that was, I had gone through so many healing journeys in my life. But now that I think about it, sort of my 30s and early 40s was a big part of that, another healing journey. Basically healing a lot of the stuff that happened in my childhood and healing a lot of the things that I inflicted upon myself in my 20s and my early 30s. Inflicted would be the right word, I think.
Oh, yeah. The 20s are fun.
Yeah.
So let's change directions a little bit. I would love to hear from you about what would you say to somebody who's feeling stuck in their journey, who's feeling like, they don't know what direction to go. They don't know how, is the voice in their head their evil stepmother? Is it them? What's your advice for people who are feeling like, overwhelmed and they just don't even know where to start in writing their own story and creating their future?
Well, the thing that I always tell people, and I don't care how you're feeling stuck, but whenever you're feeling stuck or you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to move. Okay, you need to do something. You need to take action. And I don't care what it is, even if it's only tiny little baby steps, researching something that you're interested in, research something that you've heard about that you think that might help you, move physically, like get into some, and I don't care, it doesn't matter what it is. My big thing was yoga. Like I was very athletic when I was young, and I had a lot of injuries. I had a lot of sports injuries. I had a lot of car accidents in my 20s and early 30s. So I always say, if I had realized I was going to live this long, I would have been much gentler on my body, but that's a whole nother story. So you want to do something, no matter what it is. I don't care if you just start walking around the block once every day. Okay. It's that motion. Okay. You have to remember physics. Something in motion stays in motion. Okay. If you're sitting still and you're just going, you're not doing anything, I guarantee you, you will never, it's making a choice. And this is what people don't realize. Um, the making of the choice itself starts the energy. Okay. And then you have to choose, even if you have to choose every day to go out for that little walk or to go to that yoga class or to speak to somebody that you trust if you've got something going on that you've never voiced. Because a lot of times, we sort of alluded to this earlier, but a lot of times what gets people stuck is holding everything in. So even just having, and if you can't find anybody that you feel comfortable talking to, journal. Okay. Because that's another way of physically getting, because everything, I tell people this all the time, everything is energy. I don't care whether it's a thought, emotion, a physical, everything is energy. So you have to get that energy moving somehow. And it doesn't really matter how you do it, it's just that you do it and that you keep doing it. And even if it's tiny little things, you're just doing a simple little thing differently every day. And I tell people this who are really stuck and they just can't, change something in your morning routine. Okay, this is so simple. Like say for example, there's some people who get up and never make their bed. Okay? That was me for decades. I don't know why. I think it was because when was a kid, my mother was so she was so like beds made and
Yeah.
everything. And, you get older and you go, I'm an adult now. I don't have to do that. Right? And so for literally a few decades, I had this block against making my bed. So I never made I did the Grand Yank or something, but I never actually made the bed. Right. And then I was listening to this podcast of this. Actually, I heard about this after I started doing it. There's a big general or something in the Navy or something, and he did this whole little, it was like a commencement speech on making your bed. And I thought, you're a crazy man. What difference is that? And it actually made a difference because of that, I started making and I do it every day. And I don't miss a day, but I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. It just starts my day and it gives me structure, and that's an accomplishment. Okay. One of the big reasons that people get stuck is they feel like they're not accomplishing anything. And if all you accomplish in the day is getting out of bed and making your bed, you've accomplished something. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter how little the thing or how insignificant that seems, you got to do that. And as you create that momentum, it's like the snowball rolling downhill. The more of these little things that you start doing, the bigger and bigger the snowball gets and the faster it's rolling down the hill. And all of a sudden, you just wake up one day and you go, wow, I feel totally different than I felt 3 weeks ago, or that a month ago, or a year ago, or whatever it is. But it's because you've got yourself in motion. So if you're feeling stuck, that's the biggest thing. And you start learning a lot. I don't think we ever go through a challenging time for nothing. Okay. Every time we're challenged, it's a growth phase. You come out of that learning or growing or having new insight or information into yourself. And that's the biggest thing, you know. We're in these little meat suits for our whole body, for our whole life, excuse me. So you better learn a lot about yourself, because when push comes to shove, even if there's no one around you, you've always got to deal with you. So you better get really clear on who that is. And that's what I talk about, learning about who your authentic self is, not who, your parents told you to be, or society told you should be, or religion or culture or whatever. You need to find out as soon as possible, by the way. I would have preferred that I had done this much earlier in my life. But you need to find out. This is why for young people, I am so in favor of young people getting the right kind of mentorship and counseling and stuff like that, so that they can come off and they don't have to wait until they're in some form of midlife to
Yeah.
actually find themselves, which is what has been happening. But now I'm glad to see it's changing, because I see the new people coming in, the new young people, and they are much more, well, they have an advantage too, because they are much more connected. They don't lose themselves as much as we used to. Okay. They come in much clearer and they retain a better sense. Not every single one, but kind of in general. I hate talking in generalities because there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, I'm finding the young people are more connected, and not only are they more connected, they stay connected, where they don't lose themselves like so much as we did when we were younger. Because let's face it, well, I'm older than you guys too, but trust me, we lost ourselves when we were young. But in that same thing, I'll say we lost ourselves, but that also brought us back to ourselves.
Yes. I would never be the person I am now, bar the things I did decades ago, for sure.
Yeah.
Tova, did you have a question? I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I want to talk a little, well, we do need to take another quick break, but I want to talk a little bit about sort of where you root your spirituality. Like, where, I know you said nature, right? Like you're out in nature and that's really where you're pulling from, but like I want to talk more about that and more in depth to help people understand how they can sort of follow that sort of path and the benefits of, of that. Let's take a quick break and I'll be more clear when we get back. We'll be right back, everyone.
Hey there, pod family. Have you ever wished you could stay in the loop with a little slice of transformation and inspiration delivered straight to your inbox? Well, you're in luck, because now you can. Introducing our fantastic newsletter, your VIP pass to all things exciting and informative. Join our community of growth-minded souls. Get the hottest topics delivered right to your inbox. It's quick, easy, and totally free. Just head over to our website at goboldlyinitiative.com and sign up for our newsletter today. Don't miss out on the next big thing. Stay connected with us. Subscribe now and get ready for some big, bold love.
Welcome back to the show. So before the break, I was trying to express, I guess, the question is like, what is your spirituality rooted in? You've alluded to your childhood being challenging. You did not grow up in a religious family. You've had these sort of experiences, you've sought more experiences. I know that you work on your spirituality because it's not something like, I think that's an interesting fact that maybe people don't realize. It's not, you don't just sit there and you're like,
No.
enlightenment. It's actually,
if only that was that easy.
Right, it would be amazing. Like you actually, it's a practice. We say that so much on the show. So all of that aside, like my question is, where is your spirituality rooted? What are you doing every day to help yourself stay connected and tuned in and feeling good? I mean, I know we all have our bad days, obviously, but like, what is your day to day like that helps you maintain that connection?
Well, I would say that, I love threes because threes are a very spiritual number, and sacred geometry is all based on three. So I talk about my three pillars, which is yoga, meditation, and nature. And those for me are my daily practices. I've been doing yoga now for, I don't know, intensely for probably like 12 years. And that first 7 years of that healed my body. Remember, I told you I had all these injuries and everything. It was amazing. Like I thought I was in my late 40s, early 50s, and I thought I was gonna be a cripple for the rest of my life. I had so many injuries and so many things going on. That healed me, and it also gave me that grounding and helped me lead more into my spirituality. Meditation is huge, okay? Because meditation covers all four pillars: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, all at the same time. And it really doesn't matter. There's so many different kinds of meditation. It's really finding what works for you. Now, personally, for me, I've always been better at guided meditation. I'm not into traditional silent meditation because, man, my brain goes all over the place. So that doesn't work for me. But the guided meditation works fantastic for me. And there's so much out there now. Like, oh my God, there's all these wonderful apps. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube that you don't even have to pay for. That's huge. And then the other thing is just being outside. And especially now, by the way, without getting into the whole story, the vibration, the energy of our world, the earth, is changing, is shifting. You've probably heard a lot about the Schumann resonance, and that's basically the heartbeat of the earth. Okay. And that is changing, and that affects us. And there's tons of solar energy coming in. We're right in the middle of it, a huge solar cycle like we've never seen before. And there's all kinds of things going on with that. So there's so much energy going on around us. We have to make sure that we keep our own vibration high. We have to make sure that we stay grounded. My guides go on, they harp on this now. They've always harped on it, but they really harp on it now. The fact of staying grounded and centered. So whatever practices, and there's tons, like I have a grounding sheet on my bed. And, because we spend a third of our lives in bed. So it's a good place to ground. Okay. Earthing, there's so much information now out there about things that you can do. And the other thing is in controlling your environment, because let's face it, especially working from home now, we spend so much time at home, and we need to control our own environment in our homes. Okay. And that's everything from what you allow in, whether it's people, music, forget about, and I have a mainstream media background, but I'm just telling you, don't even go there. I haven't listened, watched, or read mainstream media in over a decade. And I just said to my guides, I said, in the universe, I just said, hey, if there's something that I really need to know, then it's essential for me to know. Please make it available to me. And the information comes from all different ways. So I never listen to watch or read the news. Okay. And that includes online and everywhere. Okay. But especially, there's a lot of fear porn and doom and gloom too, and social media and stuff that you have to stay away from. Okay. If you don't want that stuff, come and follow me on my Facebook page. People love my page. There's none of that stuff. I don't allow any political stuff, any news stuff. It's all just stuff to help build you up. I'm probably getting away from the question. So my personal practices. What else do I do? Grounding, yoga, meditation, being out in nature, controlling my environment within my home. I've got salt lamps, I have crystals, I play, my space is very zen. And when I say zen, it means peaceful and uplifting. Okay. And even right down to the people you allow in your home. Okay. You need to become much more discerning about. I think there's a saying that you are the 5 people that you spend the most time with or something.
Mhm.
And that's energetically, okay? That really speaks to energetics. And you have to start filtering who you allow into your life. Okay. If somebody has really bad energy, and it's easy to discover who those people are. If you're with somebody for a while and you leave them and you immediately feel like, oh my God, I need a shower. Or you feel entirely drained. Okay, those are the energy suckers. Those kind of people, you just have to let them, or you either have to let them fall out of your life, or you have to make the choice. Okay, everything's about choice to not be around those people, or at least not be spending so much time with those people, and be around people that you find are uplifting and bring out the best in you. Okay. And that's an old saying from probably my grandmother's, you want to be around people that make you uplift you, bring out the best in you. But the meaning of it now has changed because we know that that's really about energy. That's not about socializing. That's not about personality. It's really about the person's energy. So that's a huge part of it too. So take care of yourself, take care of your home, and take care who you spend time with. There you go. And go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, as you're doing this work and you have these three areas that you work with people,
Mhm.
what impact do you want to have with the people that you're working with, either short term or long term? Is it different for the different
Okay, okay.
types of people that you're
Okay,
working with?
there's two things that I do one-on-one. One is the spiritual counseling,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is an extended version of that, which is my intuitive life coaching or mentoring. I don't even like the word coaching because it's not really that, but we don't really have a word. So I kind of throw in the mentorship word. That is really about helping people to make their lives work. Like that's the bottom line. Okay. Whether it be personal life, family life, business life, whatever that is, it's about identifying the issues within that and helping them to make their life work. And the biggie is because you can't make your life work until you know who you really are. So it's really helping the people identify who they are, their authentic self, helping them to reach that and find out who they really are. And a lot of that is scraping away. My guides love doing this, scraping away because we have muck. I call it muck that builds up on the outside of us. And all that muck is caused by all kinds of things, like your family, your religion, your culture, advertising, what you've allowed yourself to believe about yourself that isn't true, all those things. And that's the muck we need to scrape away. And it's wonderful. Once we scrape all the muck away, guess what pops out? Your authentic self, who you really are. So that's the main part. Now, the mediumship work is different. I do live mediumship groups, and my mediumship is a little bit different. Most of the mediums you'll see around are what are called evidentiary mediums, and they're the ones that are on TV, and they have very large audiences, and they'll spit out a whole bunch of facts and stuff like that. I don't use my mediumship, and I can do those things too, but I don't use my media. I do small group, probably maximum a dozen people. And it's really about helping people heal and helping people heal from grief. Okay. And also helping people to realize that we don't die. It's just like another life in a different place, which changes your whole idea of when you're alive. Okay. If you realize that there's a whole nother life, it's just in a different kind of energy, then you start looking at your physical life very differently. Okay. And when it comes to my mediumship, I have two um, promises that I've made. I have one promise to the living to help them to connect with their loved ones and to heal their grief. And I also have a promise to the people on the other side, which is to deliver their messages faithfully to their loved ones to help them heal. Because there's a lot of people on the other side that didn't get a chance to do healing stuff with their people on this side, which is unfortunate, guys. I always say, try to do your healing work before you leave. But if you can't, then there is also healing that comes from the other side as well. Because when we go to the other side, we drop all the humanness. Like you could have somebody a parent, a friend, whatever, who you had just a horrendous relationship when they were alive. But I tell you, the relationship that you can have once they cross over is totally different.
Um, I have so many questions and we're just about out of time. Can you I'm trying to like sort through all my questions because I want to stay on topic here. When you do your mediumship work, what
Mhm.
is I mean, healing from grief, but like, what is the typical takeaway for somebody? Like, what are you hoping people will walk away from that experience feeling? I mean, there's not a tangible, I have this thing. It's a feeling, right? And so
Yeah,
what does that
it's
look
very
like?
different. Honestly, it's very different because what ends up happening, this is why I do mediumship. Sometimes in private sessions, somebody will come through, but that is not the point of a private session, but that happens. But in the group mediumship sessions, it's so important because it doesn't matter whether the message is directed at one person. Everybody in the group learns something from what's being said to everybody else. And in fact, every once in a while, there's one or two people in the group who may not get a personal message. But I guarantee you, those are always the people that come up to me at the end of the group and say, "Oh my God, I got so much." A lot of times they get more out of it than some people that had the personal message because they were listening intently to everybody else's message and they got whatever they needed. I always say to people when you're in a group session like that, you're here for a reason. Everyone there is there for a reason. Nobody is there by accident. Okay, I'll give you a quick story that'll tell you, that can illustrate it. One of the most incredible things that I ever experienced was when a young man came through. He was in his 20s when he died, and he was in a motorcycle accident. It was a single vehicle accident, and there was no skid marks, and he drove straight off the road into a massive tree, hit the tree, and was killed instantly. Because of the elements of the accident, no skid marks and all this, the police deemed it a suicide because there was no attempt at braking. There was nothing. So they thought he had killed himself. Well, this just wrecked his whole family. Okay, it wrecked his family. He had a younger brother and friend. Both of them. See, in young people, suicide breeds suicide. Okay, when a young person commits suicide, the percentage of people around them goes up extremely. Okay, so it really damaged everybody in his family. And he came through and he wanted to clear and tell that so that they knew the truth so that they could heal. Because I guarantee you, this was years, this was 5 or 6 years at least after this happened. And his family was still in deep, deep grief, like unhealed. Like that is really bad. When you go that long, we're not supposed to be grieving that long. Okay. And the point was, he took responsibility for the accident, but he made it very plain that he didn't kill himself. Because what actually happened is he was really sick. He had a really bad cold. He took a whole bunch of over the counter, and this is a lesson for people. He took a whole bunch of over the counter remedies, and he said, "Look, I knew I probably shouldn't have been driving, but I wanted to get home." So he drove home on his motorcycle. What happened? He fell asleep at the wheel. Okay, and ended up killing himself. But he did not, his intention was not to take his own life. So that information changed that whole family, his friend group. The information just went out far and wide, and people started to heal. Okay, so that's the type of incredible things that can happen in those situations. The other big thing I'll tell you about that people heal from, because you wanted to, there are so many people out there that were not with their loved one when they passed away. Okay. These people suffer from the worst regret and the worst grief because they regret and they feel so guilty that they were not there when their loved one passed away. And that is, I have to watch the words I use. That is not true.
Right.
I was going to say it's BS, but we'll leave it in there. It's BS. Because actually what people want is they don't want their loved ones a lot of the times with them when they actually pass, because they want us to remember them the way they were. This is why when people are in hospital and their whole family gathers around them and they're with them for hours and hours, and finally the family decides to go down to the cafeteria and get something to eat. And I tell you, you can't believe how many times this happens. As soon as the people leave, their family leaves, they pass away quietly because they don't want their family there in the first place. So when people find this out and they hear it from their loved ones on the other side, oh my God, all that regret, all that, feeling, what's the word I'm looking for? Feeling guilty, all that goes away.
Yeah, I think that feeling of guilt and shame and regret, those
Yeah.
feelings, whether they're tied to someone passing or something you've done in your own life or some things you haven't shared, or we talked about this earlier, whatever part of your life those feelings are attached to, that is absolutely somewhere you're going to get stuck, somewhere you're going to get hung up. You're just going to repeat it over and over and over again until
Well,
you
it's also
can release
corrosive.
it.
It's like pouring battery acid on you. Like it's such a corrosive element within you emotionally and mentally and a lot of times physically, because these things manifest as physical illness.
Yeah, no, for sure. Tova, do you have any more questions you want to get in there? Because I know we have to wrap up, and
I
I don't
mean,
want to.
so many, but
Right?
I might have to
I
save
have lots
them
of
for
personal
another time.
questions, which are
Yeah.
probably not appropriate for the moment.
No, but we can wrap up. We can wrap up. We'll have to save them for another
All
time.
I'm saying is I'm opening up the space. Okay. We can always do Laura point two.
Yeah,
2.0.
yeah, we may have to. We may have to. So Laura, we love to close the show with something we call quick response questions. These are lighter, like ways for people to get to know you a little bit, meant to be fun. I am going to ask the questions. I am not allowed to ask follow-up questions, which is very hard for me, as you might have noticed. And you just answer whatever comes to mind.
No, don't do this.
Yep, we're doing it. You ready? What is your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Go for a walk outside.
Number 2, what is one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
Go to Bali.
Question number 3, what is your go-to comfort food?
Oh, soup.
Ooh, we haven't gotten that one yet. Question number 4, if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Perfect recall memory.
And question number 5, can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Funny, smart, and stubborn.
I like it. Those are great words.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, for talking about your journey. I'm sure people are going to be inspired and want to know more. Can you share with our listeners where they can find you if they want to, book appointments with you, follow you, all those fun things? Can you share some of that?
Sure. The easiest way, if you want more information, you want to book a session, is to email me, and it's just laurahoorweg@gmail.com. You can find my website at www.spiritspeaks2.me. And I'm all over Facebook. I'm all over Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Come find me.
All the places.
And I have a different name, so it's which is both a blessing and a curse. It's pretty easy to find me. If you can't find me, you're doing something wrong.
Well, we will share your information when we post the show on our socials, and we'll share it in our show notes as well. Thank you so much for being on the show. Tova, unless you have anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay.
This was wonderful.
Oh, thank you, ladies. Actually, this is the first time I've actually done a podcast with co-hosts, and I like it.
Oh, good. Good. Well, I'm glad we were an easy intro for you. All right, everyone. If I'm going to try that again next week, we're going to be back with another episode of season 12. And until then, make sure you're setting boundaries and, I don't know, doing some grounding outside. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks so much for listening to We Go Boldly podcast. We know you're busy and we love spending time with you.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. Head to Apple Podcasts right now to rate and review our show. While you're there, be sure to click that subscribe button.
Want more us time? Follow us on all the socials at Go Boldly Together.
Want even more us time? As in all the coaching pizzazz. Find us at goboldlyinitiative.com for all the info.
We will be back with more excitement, research, and deep thoughts next week.
Until then, keep on being the bold, brave, amazing people we know you already are.
The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.